Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another video for Godfall, and today I want to talk more in depth about Valorplates. If you guys saw the most recent gameplay that was shown during the State of Play, the PlayStation livestream, we got a look at some new gameplay, obviously, and they showed off some of the weapons, but also in passing, they did give us a look at the Sanctum, which is your home base, where you can basically unlock different Valorplates, and in that we saw a few Valorplates we have not yet seen. Now, unfortunately, we haven't yet seen them in gameplay, but what I thought we'd do today is talk about the ones that we know so far, talk about what we know top level about Valorplates, how they behave, their abilities, and also take a look at those new ones and just kind of speculate what they may well be. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think of all of these. Let me know if you guys have got a favourite Valorplate from the ones you've seen so far. And of course, if you don't want to miss any more Godfall coverage, turn on those notifications because there's plenty more stuff coming your way. Now, to begin with, start at the top for those of you guys that want a quick recap. Valorplates are effectively like classes in this game. There are 12 different Valorplates that you can unlock throughout the game, and you are pretty much free to unlock them in whatever capacity you want. You have the Sanctum, which is basically your home base in the game. This is where you go to, craft items, do other stuff, likely pick up different missions and things like that, and also where you go to unlock your Valorplates. And in order to unlock them, you will then gather specific resources from missions, rewards, other things like that, and then for the most part you get to choose whichever one you want to unlock in whatever order. In the recent interview I did, Richard did mention that there may be a couple of story beats that link to say the first specific one, but beyond that point you are largely speaking free to choose whatever you want to unlock. Obviously different Valorplates will have different unlock conditions, different material requirements, so there may be certain things you'll need to go out and farm, but there is a player choice for that, which is of course quite useful because given that Valorplates are effectively your classes, you want to be pretty free to choose your favourite quote-unquote class at the beginning of the game. Also, as a reminder that Valorplates cannot be mixed around, so you can't just take the helmet from one, the chest piece from another, and the legs from another one. Valorplates, because effectively putting it on gives you or turns you into that quote-unquote class, they are complete armor sets. That does of course also mean that on the customization front, it is a little bit more limited. That is one of the things that I was a little bit sort of sad to hear because obviously in games like this I just love to customize every aspect of my character, but they did say there will be some kind of color swaps for them later on, so there is some customization on the armor front available, but for the most part what you see is what you will wear for the majority of the game unless you change to a different Valorplate. That being said, one thing I would really like to see is if any of you guys have played say Ghost of Tsushima or other games have done this as well, where when you upgrade an armor set it changes form like at various times throughout the upgrade process. If they wanted to kind of go down the route where, say, you don't change your Valorplate visually, then at least maybe they could make it where if you fully upgraded it or you've got all the skills unlocked for it, then maybe it has a slightly different final form. That could be awesome, but anyway, that to one side. Main thing is, you go to the Sanctum, you use and gather materials, and you then unlock the Valorplates that you want. There are 12 in total, and the ones we've seen so far include Silvermane, whom we have a name for. We have this one here that I'm calling Red Eagle just because of the shoulder plates. This one here I'm calling Silver Owl. We then have Hinterclaw, which is the one that I got to reveal during my interview. And we then have a look at 3 more. These 3 are shown very briefly in the Sanctum. The first one I'm kind of likening to sort of like bull aesthetics, because if you look at the right shoulder plate on this one, it almost has these kind of bull horns with this nose ring that you can sort of see hanging down. So maybe that could be like a more aggressive Valorplate that's more so about, charging headlong into battle with that kind of bull-like aggression. Obviously keep in mind I'm just speculating here, but that's kind of what I see when I look at that one. We then have the second one, which almost has a kind of reptilian look to it. It's a lot more sort of slender than the other ones, and when you look at the helmet, a lot of them have kind of got that sort of bird of prey aesthetics to them, but as we can begin to see, they're definitely not restricted to that. Some of the other ones, of course, lean more into lions and other beasts and wolves and stuff like that. So this does kind of almost give me that sort of reptilian feel. So maybe there's some kind of, stealthy aspect to it. This could be like the rogue-like class setup where you can sneak around and maybe kind of do vanishing abilities. I don't know, something like that. But then I really want to talk about the last one because this is basically a big old Viking. I mean, he also looks kind of like Duramboros armor from Monster Hunter or Bambaro armor, but basically there's the giant horns with that sort of like Norse god style look to it. I know I said in the interview when I was kind of talking to Richard Hain about how the Hinterclaw has that kind of Norse god aesthetic to it, but then seeing this one, this just looks like a full old Viking armor set. So that is now my, obviously I don't know how it behaves, I don't know what the skills are. It looks quite heavily armored, maybe it's a more defensive one. That could be like something that allows you to assume that sort of tanky role. That could be incredibly cool. But either way, that is the other one we've seen. So with all of that in mind, we've now visibly seen 7 of the 12 Valorplates. Of course, there are still more to see, and, you know, in terms of the gameplay front, we largely speaking see everything from the perspective of Silvermane a lot of the time, so there's still plenty of abilities we have yet to discover. But if we talk more so about how Valorplates function, they, of course, you know, I mentioned before, they're like classes. Of course, when it comes to combat, you have your melee combat, which is determined by the weapon you're holding. So your basic combos, your bread and butter combos, your simple specials, things like that, that is influenced by your weapon. Meanwhile, your Valorplates, they have 2 primary abilities. There are, of course, more layers to this, and they haven't yet spoken about this. They've mentioned there are more things to them, but they haven't given us too much information just yet. But the kind of primary things are that Valorplates all have a thing called Archon mode, which is basically like your super or your ultimate ability. You fill a bar through combat, and when you activate it, there is an activation bonus, and there's also an activation ability. Basically, all Valorplates also carry a passive buff, and this is, you know, this can be something like a damage increase or a crit increase or something like that. And then when you're in Archon mode, the passive is increased substantially for the duration of Archon mode, and again they have an activation ability, a special ability if you will. For Silvermane, we don't know this for certain, but from the kind of gameplay clip we've seen, it could well be these spectral blue looking blades that fly around him whilst he attacks. And for Hinterclaw, we know for certain, thanks to the interview, that he will summon 3 additional allies to fight alongside him when you go into Archon mode. Furthermore, when Hinterclaw goes into Archon mode, his default passive is 10% crit chance, meanwhile that jumps up to 30% crit chance when in Archon mode, and a further 20% for every enemy you kill during Archon mode, up to 200%. So he is basically the crit-focused Valorplate. So as you can begin to see, you know, there are multiple layers that can kind of stack as you begin to dive deeper into combat. Now, for the most part, that's kind of all we have to go on right now. There's not kind of a great deal more. They did say that, you know, there are multiple layers to the Valorplates, and of course there's, you know, things to progress, things to unlock, things to, you know, upgrade and whatnot. So there'll of course be other things that will make these classes unique. I mean, if they just had a passive and a super ability, then of course that's not going to be as different, but I feel like they are going to have their own unique traits and whatnot. So once we do find out more about that, I will be sure to let you guys know. But for the time being, that is kind of everything we have to know on Valorplates. That's the ones we've seen so far, how their abilities work, and what we have to go on. So hopefully you guys find it helpful. Hopefully if you had any questions about them, then that's at least somewhat cleared some things up. And of course, if you guys want to find out more, then be sure to stick around, because as and when there is more information shared, as and when we learn more about the game, I will be sure to keep you guys up to date. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.